Hare Krishna, everyone. Danavat Pranams. Welcome to this very first talk in a series of talks or readings from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This new Bitesize Talks series is designed to give you, the listener, the viewer at home, a bite-sized chunk from the Bhagavad Gita. Devotees here at the Hare Krishna Project, we are passionate about Srila Prabhupada's books. We're particularly passionate about the Bhagavad Gita as it is. For myself, other members of the team, and many of you watching at home, the Bhagavad Gita literally has been life-changing. It's been a book that has changed your life, that has influenced your life, that has made a difference in your life. So we've decided to start these new kind of bite-sized series of talks to try and make the Bhagavad Gita even more digestible. I think it's quite digestible already. It's relatively easy to understand, but we want to give this new opportunity to those of you who are new to the Krishna consciousness movement, those that are new to the Hare Krishna movement, to really understand the Bhagavad Gita and how we can apply it to our lives. So the Christians would call this applied theology. We're doing kind of applied Krishna consciousness, or applied Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or applied Bhakti Yoga. And for every talk, I will read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, read Srila Prabhupada's purport, and then briefly talk about it. Based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. I will not be putting any spin on it, or no hidden agenda or my interpretation of it. I will literally be reading it as it is, just as the way Srila Prabhupada wanted it to be. And just for clarification, we are reading from the 1972 Macmillan edition. This is the most bona fide, authoritative edition of the Bhagavad Gita as it is in existence. We have a preference for reading Prabhupada's books that are unchanged, untampered, so we prioritize the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And many of you will know that we have a very successful book distribution program in the UK. We regularly distribute Bhagavad Gitas as it is to schools throughout the UK. We've actually currently got a bit of a plug here, a sponsorship program where we are distributing Prabhupada's original books in schools throughout Great Britain. So there we go. I love the design as well. It's very authentic. The Bhagavad Gita as it is, 1972 Macmillan edition. So I will read one verse for each talk, on each talk, and read Prabhupada's purport, and then just very briefly, because it's meant to be bite-sized, I won't give this long explanation every time for you to go away and think about what we've learned from today. So today I'm reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, verse 28. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, or his explanation, any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver, and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically, the whole community of all blood relatives of Arjuna had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna, although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but that he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, one who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the material plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. And that's Srila Prabhupada there quoting Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 5:18-12. So just to recap on the verse that we've read from the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, chapter 1, verse 28, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. One of the things that I love about this verse from Sastra is it reminds us that Arjuna had thoughts, feelings, and emotions just like we do. Who knows somebody who's lived a life or who is living a life that is not full of trials and tribulations? I don't. We've all experienced trials and tribulations. We've all had difficult days. We've all had negative experiences. We've all gone through really difficult times in our lives, and those levels of difficulty, some of them might be quite big and quite grand, and some of them might be smaller things that we worry about. Life in this material world is unfortunately full of misery. It's full of negative things. Our emotions go up and down. Our experiences every day go up and down. Everything changes in the material world. One moment we might be happy, the next moment we may be sad. Now, for each of us, those different degrees or levels of happiness and sadness will be different. But ultimately, we've all experienced, all living entities have experienced happiness, sadness, distress. Arjuna also experienced these things. The Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. Well, Arjuna is regularly asking Lord Krishna, God, questions around these difficulties that he's having in his life. He's questioning things. He's challenging things. He's wanting information from Lord Krishna in terms of the meaning of life. Why are there different thoughts, feelings, and emotions? And how can I deal with, in this instance, being in a battle and fighting my friends and family who are on the opposing side? Life in this material world is full of distress. That is a guarantee of life or of taking birth in material existence. Life is completely full of distress. Many of us hopefully will be encouraged by the mission of Srila Prabhupada, that he sacrificed so much when he was with us physically, when he was physically present with us, to show us that there is another way. There is a philosophy, there is a spiritual process that we can follow that doesn't end necessarily our feelings of distress and happiness and sadness. But the philosophy that Prabhupada shared, the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, shows us, tells us, enlightens us to know that all these things that we're experiencing, all this distress, all these worries in the material world are temporary. They do not last forever. So, we might feel a sense of sadness because maybe somebody's passed away or we've lost some money. or our car is broken down. But these feelings, as difficult as they might be at the time, do not last forever. Krishna consciousness shows us, it teaches us that all these thoughts and feelings in the material world are temporary. They do not last forever. And the beauty of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, is it tells us, it shows us, it teaches us, is if we focus on the Lord, if we focus on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will take our worries and our distresses away. In the Krishna consciousness movement, we're taught and we're told and we're encouraged to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. It's a mantra for this age, for this era, that is, one, relatively easy to chant, two, it can be done anywhere and any time, and three, anyone in any language, in any culture, from any background, regardless of your wealth or lack of wealth, regardless of your skin color, regardless of your nationality, regardless of your sexuality, regardless of the present material condition that you find yourself in, anyone can take up this form of yoga, this spiritual practice of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Arjuna went through these difficult trials and tribulations that we go through today. And as taught in the Bhagavad Gita, as taught by Srila Prabhupada, if we try and develop a more spiritual approach to life, a more philosophical approach to life, recognizing that all these trials and tribulations and difficulties are just temporary, if we focus on the more permanent aspects of existence, such as spiritual life, over time, things will get better for us. And over time, we will find a way to face these material difficulties with much more ease. So that is the first talk, the first reading from our series of short talks called Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bite-Sized Talks. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, verse 28. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Hare Krishna, and have a great day.